be alright.
I first met in person with Mary E. in the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terrence, to see her for an interview. Mary had initially agreed since I was not a newsman, but rather an amateur writer gathering information for a few early college assignments, and, if all went according to plan, some pieces of fiction. We scheduled the interview for a particular weekend when I was in Chicago on unrelated business, but at the last moment, Mary had changed her mind and locked herself in the couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour, I sat with Terrence as we camped outside the bedroom door, I listening and taking notes while he attempted fruitlessly to calm his wife. The things Mary said made little sense, but fit into the pattern I was expecting. Though I could not see her, I could tell from her voice that she was crying, and more often than not, her objections to speaking with me centered around an incoherent diatribe on her dreams, her nightmares. Terrence apologized profusely when we ceased the exercise, and I did my best to take it in stride. Recall that I wasn't a reporter in search of a story, but merely a curious young man in search of information. Besides, I thought at the time I could perhaps find another, similar case if I put my mind and resources to it. Mary was the sysop for a small Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1992 when she first encountered smile.jpeg, and her life changed forever. She and Terrence had been married for only 5 months. Mary was one of an estimated 400 people who saw the image when it was posted as a hyperlink on the BBS, though she was the only one who has spoken openly about the experience. The rest have remained anonymous or are perhaps dead. In 2005, when I was only in 10th grade, smile.jpg was first brought to my attention by my burgeoning interest in web-based phenomena. Mary was the most often cited victim of what is sometimes referred to as smile dog, the being smile.jpg is reputed to display. What caught my interest, other than the obvious macabre elements of the Cypher legend and my proclivity towards such things, was the sheer lack of information, usually to the point that people don't believe it even exists other than as a rumor or hoax. It is unique because, though the entire phenomenon centers on a picture file, that file is nowhere to be found on the internet. Certainly many photo-manipulated simulacra litter the web, showing up with the most frequency on sites such as the image board 4chan, particularly the X-Focus Paranormal subboard. It is suspected that these are fakes because they do not have the effect the true smile.jpg is believed to have, namely sudden onset temporal lobe epilepsy and acute anxiety. This purported reaction in the viewer is one of the reasons the phantom-like smile.jpg is regarded with such disdain. Since it is patently absurd, though depending on whom you ask, the reluctance to acknowledge smile.jpg's existence might be just as much out of fear as it is out of disbelief. Neither smile.jpg nor smiledog is mentioned anywhere on Wikipedia, though the website features articles on such other perhaps more scandalous shock sites such as Goatsy, hello.jpg, or Two Girls One Cup. Any attempt to create a page pertaining to smile.jpg is summarily deleted by any of the encyclopedia's many admins. Encounters with smile.jpg are the stuff of internet legend. Mary E.'s story is not unique. There are unverified rumors of smile.jpg showing up in the early days of Usenet, and even one persistent tale that in 2002, a hacker flooded the forums of humor and satire website Something Awful with a deluge of smile dog pictures, rendering almost all of the forum's users at the time epileptic. It is also said that in the mid to late 90s that smile.jpg circulated on Usenet and as an attachment of a chain email with a subject like, "Smile! God loves you!" Yet despite the huge exposure these stunts would generate, there are very few people who admit to having experienced any of them, and no trace of the file or any link has ever been discovered. Those who claim to have seen smile.jpg often weakly joke that they were far too busy to save a copy of the picture to their hard drive. However, all alleged victims offer the same description of the photo: a dog-like creature, usually described as appearing similar to a Siberian husky, illuminated by the flash of the camera, sits in a dim room, the only background detail visible being a human hand extending from the darkness near the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described as beckoning. Of course, most attention is given to the dog, or dog creature, as some victims are more certain than others about what they claim to have seen. The muzzle of the beast is reputably split in a wide grin, revealing 2 rows of very white, very straight, very sharp, and very human-looking teeth. This is, of course, not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims, who claim to have seen the picture endlessly repeated in their mind's eye during the time they are, in reality, having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue indeterminately, often while the victim's asleep, resulting in very vivid and disturbing nightmares. These may be treated with medication, though in some cases it is more effective than others. Mary E., I assumed, was not on effective medication. That was why, after my visit to her apartment in 2007, I sent out feelers to several folklore and urban legend-oriented news groups, websites, and mailing lists, hoping to find the name of a supposed victim of smile.jpg who felt more interested in talking about his experiences. For a time, nothing happened, and at length I forgot completely about my pursuits, since I had begun my freshman year of college and was quite busy. Mary contacted me via email, however, near the beginning of March 2008.
Dear Mr. L, I am incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope you understand that it was no fault of yours, but rather my own problems that led me to act out as I did. I realize I could have handled the situation more decorously. However, I hope you will forgive me. At the time, I was afraid. You see, for 15 years, I have been haunted by smile.jpeg. Smile Dog comes to me in my sleep every night. I know that sounds silly, but it's true. There is an ineffable quality about my dreams, my nightmares, that makes them completely unlike any real dreams I have ever had. I do not move, do not speak, I simply look ahead, and the only thing ahead of me is the scene from the horrible picture. I see the beckoning hand, and I see smile.dog. It talks to me. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a coworker. I could even show it to Terrence. As much as the idea disgusted me, and what would happen then? Well, if smile.dog kept its word, I could sleep, yet if it lied, what would I do? And who was to say something worse, not come for me, if I did as the creature asked? So I did nothing for 15 years, though I kept the diskette hidden amongst my things. Every night for 15 years, smile.dog came to me in my sleep and demanded that I spread the word. For 15 years, I have stood strong, though there have been hard times. Many of my fellow victims on the BBS board, where I first encountered smile.jpg, stopped posting. I heard some of them committed suicide. Others remained completely silent, simply disappearing off the face of the web. They are the ones I worry about the most. I sincerely hope you will forgive me, Mr. L. But last summer, when you contacted me and my husband about an interview, I was near the breaking point. I did not care if smile.dog was lying or not. I wanted it to end. You were a stranger, someone I had no connection with, and I thought I would not feel sorrow when you took the diskette as part of your research and sealed your fate. Before you arrived, I realized what I was doing. I was plotting to ruin your life. And I hope that this warning will dissuade you from further investigation of smile.jpg. You may in time encounter someone who is, if not weaker than I, then wholly more deprived. Someone will not hesitate to follow smile.dog's orders. Stop while you're still whole. Sincerely, Mary E.
Terrence contacted me later that month with the news that his wife had killed herself. While cleaning up the various things she'd left behind, closing email accounts and the like, he happened upon the above message. He was a man in shambles. He wept as he told me to listen to his wife's advice. He found the diskette, he revealed, and burned it until it was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. Was how the diskette had hissed as it melted, like some sort of animal, he said. I will admit that I was a little uncertain about how to respond to this. At first I thought perhaps it was a joke, with the couple belatedly playing with the situation in order to get a rise out of me. But a quick check of several Chicago newspapers' online obituaries, however, proved that Mary E. was indeed dead. There was, of course, no mention of suicide in the article. I decided that, for at least a time, I would not further pursue the subject of smile.jpg, especially since I had finals coming up at the end of May, but the world has odd ways of testing up. Almost a full year after I had returned from my disastrous interview with Mary E., I received another email.
Hello, I found your email address through a mailing list. Your profile said you're interested in Smile Dog. I've saw it. It is not as bad as everyone says, and I've sent it to you here. Just spreading the word.
According to my email client, there was one file attachment called, naturally, smile.jpg. I considered downloading it for some time. It was most likely a fake, I imagined, and even if it weren't, I was never wholly convinced of smile.jpg's peculiar powers. Mary E.'s account had shaken me, yes, but she was probably mentally unbalanced anyway. After all, how could a single image do what smile.jpg was said to accomplish? What sort of creature was it that could break one's mind with only the power of the eye? And if such things were patently absurd, then why did the legend exist at all? If I downloaded the image, if I looked at it, and if Mary turned out to be correct, if Smile Dog came to me in my dreams demanding I spread the word, what would I do? Would I live my life as Mary had, fighting against the urge to give in until I died? Or would I simply spread the word, eager to be put to rest? And if I chose the latter route, how could I do it? Who would I burden in turn? If I went through with my earlier intention to write a short article about smile.jpg, I decided, I could attach it as evidence, and anyone who read the article, anyone who took interest, would be affected. And even assuming the smile.jpeg attachment to the email was genuine, would I be capricious enough to save myself in that manner? Is that it?
That's it.
Wait, what?
That's where it ends.
That's where it ends.
That's over.
That's Smile Dog.
That is more of an urban legend than
So this is probably the best one we've read so far. But again,
not saying much, like,
not a fucking high bar at all. Very, very low. With Sonic.exe being the lowest point, I'd say like Toothman was right just above that.
Just slightly.
Jeff's too iconic to put at the bottom of the list, but this is definitely above that. And which is, surprising is that a lot of fan art has Jeff and Smile Dog in the same picture because, they both smile.
The smile is.
Y'all haven't heard this story.
The only variant I heard of this story is that the dog will appear in your photos randomly, lets you take a picture. It's like, oh, look at my wedding, it's so peak. You'll just randomly see the dog in the back, and then she'll get hit by a semi truck the next day.
My wedding is so peak. I'm gonna say that.
My wedding was peak, guys. Look at it.
Oh, that also that reminds me of I don't know why there's a Goosebumps book where it's literally like that, and it's the dumbest plotline ever. It's yeah.
Say cheese and die?
Yeah. So and I kid you guys, the plotline is literally always that the kid tries to stop his friends from using it. It's like, stop! The camera shows you the future, and then they'll be like, oh, shut up, Timmy, you don't know shit. You're like 7, and then they take a picture of themselves like, oh, look, I'm hinking in this one, and then it actually happens. But yeah, I didn't hate that. I just that ending was just what did we even need that, bro?
It wasn't nearly as boring as Toothman.
I'll say that.
I like the picture. The picture's funny. I mean, at the time when I first saw this, as a kid, it was scary. I mean, I think the other one where he's all red and demonic is scarier, but for the most part, everything about the story is.
It was interesting. It wasn't corny either. It was just interesting. That's all.
I have no other thoughts about just this. I mean, it was okay.
I don't feel actively disappointed after reading it. Sonic.exe, that one just made me angry to see that.
I was just kind of surprised this thing just ended. What, that was the last line? Yeah, that was something man, that was such a dog shit, and it wasn't like that,
At least he didn't go, guys, he's right behind me, isn't he?
Guys, I really am him, huh?
He turns his chair around, and he does the slow turn.
The dog just
And then the dog was sitting right behind me.
I do kind of like these type of.
But he let me post it.
I do kind of like these type of creepypastas. Is more of the item itself is the haunted and not the actual dog. It's kind of, it would be dumb myself. It was man, I can't have the dog pull up on me. Oh no.
Yeah, it's some curse. I like a lot of the curse things because it doesn't give a physical. There's not just some evil ass dog out there that's really happy that you're dying violently. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.
No.
The moist quarter going in.
We don't have an outro, so with all the jokes I've been doing with the outro we have now, it's just been a hard cut. Somebody's talking and then the
Jagged little pieces of the puzzle. Sipping on the colors till I fade into gray. I put my life into a bottle, let you guzzle. I found a star that I could ride and let you chase me away. I put my pride inside a cosmic mud puddle. Y'all be fucking with my galaxy. The nerve of y'all that's mad at me in the galactic tug of war to try to one-up you. What you want, fuck you, I don't even wanna love you. Let gravity crush you, feel the atrophy bubble inside the muscle. Hit capacity a moment ago, but on the low, I'm in the cockpit, watch this.